You're listening to Arcane Carolinas, an exploration of the Carolinas' folklore, legends, myths, and modern weird. Each episode, we examine the historical context of our topic and aim to preserve some of the stories that help make this part of the world such a fascinating place. Hey, and welcome to an Arcane Carolinas Case Files. I'm your co-host, Charlie Mushaw.
I'm your co-host, Michael G. Williams.
If you are joining us for the first time, Case Files episodes are an opportunity for us to highlight paranormal investigators, like-minded podcasts, authors, anyone that sort of like treads in the same pool as us.
Yeah. People who have made it their mission to investigate the weird or to write about the weird or to be historians of the weird. You never know.
So we have two profiles for you today on that. But before we start with those segments, we wanted to, based on input that we got in Winston-Salem from someone that asked, hey, have you talked about Santa's Land yet? We want to make sure to talk about Santa's Land, Fun Park, and Zoo.
Yeah.
You were familiar with this. I was not.
Yeah, we used to see billboards and things like that for Santa's Land when I was a kid growing up in the mountains, like all the time. And I always really wanted to go. And my parents were like, no, they were never going to do that.
It looks like a fun place. If you've got kids, if you're looking to get seasonal, there the kids can meet Santa. There's rides. There's a little zoo. There's a magic show, which, I don't know. I like that stuff.
Oh yeah, totally.
It does look like they are closed for the 2021 season and are going to be open again in 2022. But because we said we would talk about it, I wanted to honor that. So check out Santa's Land, plural, or not plural, possessive. There I go with my words and apostrophes. Michael is grimacing at me so hard right now in his soul. Maybe not outwardly, but in his soul, he's like, it's possessive, you ding dong. So santaslandnc.net.
And they're in Cherokee, North Carolina. They are rapidly approaching their 50th. No, they passed their 50th. They're rapidly approaching their 60th year of operation.
Check it out. Santa Claus themed theme park. If you're looking, they are not open this season again, but please do check out the website. And if you are looking for something this season, this holiday season relating to Santa, he's always going to be there to rappel down Chimney Rock. Check that out.
Darn tootin'.
Right. Thanks so much. Welcome to Arcane Carolinas Case Files. We're joined today by the folks from Hidden in the Shadows, which is a podcast that I listen to while I cut the grass. Introduce yourself.
All right. I'm Isaac from Hidden in the Shadows, co-host, along with my wife, Megan. But she is busy watching our little turd.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Hidden in the Shadows, if you have not listened to them, is a podcast about all things paranormal. You're in Eastern North Carolina, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're in the Carolinas, but the podcast covers so much more than just the Carolinas. So we get requests for topics that y'all cover. International stories, bigger concepts. Like I really liked your episode about the particle collider, perhaps creating alternate realities and like flickers in the universe.
Yeah, the Mandela effect and stuff like that. The whole purpose of the podcast Hidden in the Shadows was to talk about the stuff that's hidden in the shadows, technically stuff that people don't put on their most conversated things they talk about the most, the strange, the paranormal. And I always say in most episodes that we haven't together experienced everything we talk about, but we've experienced most things we talk about.
Very cool.
Yeah, there are some things we talk about that we've experienced, but there are a lot of things we talk about that we've not. That's fascinating. That's awesome.
Another example of a topic that y'all have recently talked about, a little more recently than the particle collider stuff, the Mandela effect, is ley lines. You have done an episode on ley lines, and I think that stuff is super interesting. And I know that what we're recording right now is likely going to air after Halloween, but you do special Halloween stuff too, right? You have like a Halloween special episode?
We try to do special things around Halloween, either like a live or a specific episode on a specific subject. Last year, I can't remember if we did it on possession. Mm-hmm. It's been a year. It's been a while. But this year, we talked about wanting to do a live paranormal investigation because not only are we podcasters, we're also paranormal investigators as well. And it would be a partnership, I guess, with us and the paranormal team that we're part of, Shadow Walker Paranormal, doing a live investigation.
And we are actually going to talk to you and some of the Shadow Walker Paranormal folks in a week or two after this, actually. And we'll talk about some of your investigations and stuff and how people can get in touch with that group. So that'll be really cool. And we appreciate you taking the time to talk about both the podcast and the paranormal investigations, because I think that's something that our listeners will really be into and hopefully check you out.
I've been an investigator for maybe a year now. I haven't been in the game that long, but the guys that I work with, the couple anyway, that me and Megan work with, they've been doing it for about 3 or 4 years now.
Cool. Yeah, we are not paranormal investigators. We are very much like students of history and digging into science and crap like that. That's not to say that we are skeptics. I think that we are both believers in that there are things out there that can't be explained. I mean, I wouldn't listen to your podcast if I didn't buy into some of it. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I always like talking to paranormal investigators, because they're actually out there. I'm in the library reading the books. They're out there doing the stuff that will get into the books eventually.
Yeah. I'm like a high research stat Call of Cthulhu character. You know? I'm a big believer. I believe in a wide variety of things, or at the very least, I'm open to the possibility of a wide variety of things. Don't really talk about all the stuff that I believe in because I'm very wary of sounding like I'm trying to impose what I believe on others. But I find it really fascinating, and I especially find the history of these things and how we as a culture deal with what people report, sort of outside the question of whether or not we all believe that something is true, or I personally believe something is true. I find it really fascinating to think about how does that shape sort of our culture? How do we sort of dodge and weave around these topics as they come up?
Normal society, I was just going to say, the normal society, but people, they try to ignore everything that would break them out of the reality of normality, in a sense. Like, they want everything to be the same. They want their YouTube videos. They want their binging. They want their TVs. They don't want to think anything outside of that. Or as my friend puts it, thinking outside the box. They don't want to think outside the box. They want to stay in their box because the box is safe. The box is comfortable. They know it. They know what's in here. They don't want to think anything that's outside of it. So most of the stuff that, like I said, we talk about and you guys talk about is just outside that and not normal conversation.
Depends on who you hang out with. I agree. It's
yeah.
I like that we get to talk about it and try to surround myself with folks that I can talk about it with. So we are, as you know, podcasts that only cover stories out of the Carolinas. Do you have any particular favorite weird story out of North or South Carolina, be it a cryptid or a ghost or a haunted house or a UFO sighting or anything like that? There's
several, actually. The library in Moorhead, I forgot the name of it. It's the only major historical library in Moorhead, North Carolina. It's owned by a family because it's named after them. I'm trying to remember the damn name of it. Anyway, the whole purpose of the library is it used to be a children's hospital. It had children die there during the tuberculosis crisis or something, and the Spanish flu. And it was a regular doctor's office for a bit, and then it became a library for a period of time. But it was extremely haunted. And investigating there and being there, the stuff that I experienced, and we'll probably talk about Shadow Walker Paranormal, but that just it blew me. But like, it's one of the most old stories that I heard even before I moved here was the Devil's Tramping Ground.
Oh yeah. Yep. Somebody just tagged us on, I think it was Facebook. It was just like some page posted a thing about Devil's Tramping Ground, and then somebody tagged Arcane Carolina. It was like, they tested the dirt, and I'm like, ha, vindication! I did test the dirt. So I love the Devil's Tramping Ground.
Bringing science to the devil.
I don't appreciate that. Please stop taking my dirt. So.
That and the Brown Mountain Lights.
Yeah.
You're I love the Brown Mountain Lights. I've never seen them. I've never gone to look for them. Really want to do that. I love to read about them, and I love the theories behind them also. And I don't think that anybody knows what they are, and I don't think we ever will. And I love that about them. I just think that they're an amazingly spooky, cool thing.
It's on my to-do list to get up there and sit out in the dark for a night or two and see if I can see them one day.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have goals, man. Gotta have goals.
Yeah.
What is the best way for people to find your podcast? Where do you want to direct folks? Because I know that we're Instagram buddies. So if somebody follows us on Instagram, they can search in who we follow and they'll see you hidden in the shadows. But what's your preferred hosting site or website?
Well, most people try to contact us through Instagram.
Okay.
Hidden the Shadows Hidden the Shadows podcast on Instagram. We actually have a website as well, as the hiddentheshadowspodcast.com, which has links to all our social media and all our places where you can listen to it. Also, a link to our store.
Sweet.
Where we have actually t-shirts. So yeah.
Clothe your body in Hidden in the Shadows podcast wear. I fully endorse that. I've got y'all's sticker sitting over here on my workbench. So like your guys' stuff. Well, that was pretty much my agenda. It was just to have you on, plug the podcast.
A quick question for people who have listened to, or, who obviously, because they're listening to this via Arcane Carolinas, who listen to Arcane Carolinas, who do not yet listen to Hidden in the Shadows. What's an episode that you think is a good jumping in point for Hidden in the Shadows? What's the episode you tell people they should go listen to get a good sense of your show?
Any of the ghost stories. Ghost Stories 1, Ghost Stories 2 is a strong indication of what me and my wife experienced over our life, individually and together, because we both had paranormal lives dealing with like ghosts and different things before we even met. And then after we met, it just seemed to get heightened with experiencing stuff like that. I think Ghost Stories 1 and Ghost Stories 2 are probably the two best. I think the one we did on possessions is pretty good. And some of our recent ones too. Yeah, I can say that. The audio quality is a little in the early days, but you hear that when we started getting better mics and better equipment towards like maybe after the 10th episode.
I think that's true of basically everybody. We're all learning how to do this on the fly.
Well, awesome. Well, go ahead.
Oh, let's say we got it down now. We actually got good equipment, good mics.
Well, I want to say thanks again for taking the time, and we're going to be speaking with you again, and we will put those two together as one Case Files episode for our listeners. So if you're listening to this, up next will be a profile on the Paranormal Investigative Group.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Welcome back to Arcane Carolinas Case Files. I am your only host today, Charlie Mushaw, because Michael had something come up and he is okay. So nothing to worry about there, but it's just going to be me and Mike from Shadow Walker Paranormal shooting the breeze today.
How we doing today?
I'm good. I'm on my lunch break.
That's a lot of people are, right?
Right. This is generally when we do things. So happy that you took the time. Really glad that you're here. I wanted to talk a little bit about your group, where you're based out of, what it is you do, what you're looking for, stuff like that.
Okay, so we're Shadow Walker Paranormal. We're out of the eastern side of North Carolina. We're a little spread out as far as the team, but close to the Beaufort, I reckon, would be the closest thing people would identify with is where Blackbeard was, Beaufort, North Carolina.
Yep. Have you ever tried to find Blackbeard's ghost?
There is a particular house. They're very finicky about speaking about its history, but it is one of his houses. And there is paranormal activity in there, but the people that own it are very strict about not letting people in. And it's passed hands a lot. And everybody that's ever owned it is really not liked certain areas of the house and don't like to talk about it, which is kind of weird.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Growing up, there was a house that I knew of, not directly down the road, but a little bit of a drive. And that thing sold every 2 to 3 years, that thing would change hands. I have a friend that's a real estate agent now, and I asked him, I was like, hey, do you remember that house that was always on the market that we said was haunted? And his response was, yeah, dude, it's totally haunted.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I definitely get that vibe when you're talking about different properties.
We're a team, we go out to different places, locations, and we don't just investigate. When we go into locations, we like to heal the location or to let things go. When we come in, we usually clean what I would say is a little bit of housekeeping. We don't just get evidence. We try to heal what needs to be healed and cross over what needs to be crossed over.
Cool, man. I feel like y'all would really connect with a group that we interviewed last year, the Grim Wanderers, where they have a kind of a similar approach. They're in South Carolina, but very cool. Where all do you go? Do you stick to Eastern North Carolina? Do you are you willing to check out geographically, are you willing to travel and go elsewhere in the Carolinas?
Yes. Of course, with the COVID regulations and stuff like that, It's been a little harder to travel, of course. With that said, yes, we are looking to expand, reach out, go different places. It doesn't, anywhere in the world, you don't have to go very far to find this stuff.
Right.
It's all around us, right? It's all around us every day. So we do, while we're home, we do a lot in the area. If we do need to, or if we get called, we'll go to a location, or if it's something awesome, I still want to get to Gettysburg. I still want to get to my family. And looking into my family, I actually found out my family was one of the first settlers to be attacked during the Indian Wars and was actually massacred. And they have a park. It's called the Sluss Family Massacre. And I want to go check that out because that's actually, part of my bloodline and stuff. So, yeah, there are places we want to go, with restrictions and stuff. We have to play it by ear. And, of course, we all have duality. So we all have to work. We got bills to pay.
Right.
We do have duality to deal with.
Yeah, no, totally. Someone asked me at a thing once. They're like, "So you have a day job, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I absolutely have a day job. I am not just a spooky podcast host." I wish.
Yeah, don't we all?
Right. So you mentioned if you get a call, how should people find you on the internet? Like, what is your preferred way for people to get in touch with you?
Our preferred are like the social medias, the Instagram, the Twitter, the Facebook. We also do, Isaac and Megan also do the Hidden in the Shadows podcast. So we are trying to get a little bit more recognized and out there a little bit more. And then from what we're feeling and what we are accomplishing here, we know something's going to reach out to us. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of.
So what we'll do is in the show notes of this episode, and when we post it to our social media, we will be sure to include links to your profile. So if you're listening to this and you want to check them out, check either the show notes or our social media, and you will see links to their pages, and you can find them that way as well.
Thank you.
There's no wrong answer here at all. What is your favorite spooky story out of the Carolinas, or legend or monster, ghost, whatever? Any weird X-Files type story out of the Carolinas? What's one that jumps to your mind?
One of the ones that we're well known for in this area is that there's a graveyard in Beaufort, and it's a little girl that came over on a ship, and she was dead when she got here, but they had to put her in a whiskey barrel, and they actually buried her here. It's a local legend. And when you visit the graveyard, especially at night, like you get the feeling like you're being played with, like a little kid's messing with you. Mm-hmm. And the rule of thumb is you always bring a gift for her, a toy or a token or something to leave for her, because if you don't, she'll mess with you. And people have actually tested that theory. And so we've actually got like police officers that were called to the graveyard because some teenagers wanted to desecrate this little girl's grave. Mm-hmm. So they lit all the toys and stuff on fire on top of the grave. Well, the official report said that there was 2 teens running away from the fire with a small girl chasing them.
That's kind of cool.
So now, after all was said and done, and they caught these 2 teens swore up and down that there was a girl chasing them, and the cop reported seeing the girl chasing them, but they could never find the girl that was chasing them.
That's a great local story.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just one instance of this little girl messing with people. So we do have a very active area, very old area where we're at. It is the graveyard of the Atlantic. So we have a lot of Civil War stuff around here, Fort Macon, things of that nature that we like to go mess around and feel the different spirits that are there and stuff.
Sure. It's way more exciting than, say, I'm going to be a little bit mean, Cary, North Carolina, where it's just strip mall after strip mall after strip mall. Right. Nothing against Cary.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of their stuff is actually because they keep messing with the ground. I don't know what your perception on everything is, but the more they're building these places and intruding, we're not just intruding on the animals' habitats, we're intruding on our past lives. And we're disrupting a lot of stuff that causes a lot of bad mojo and negativity.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree that there's a lot going on that we don't necessarily see, and especially from a historical context, where just because you don't see anything on the surface of the ground doesn't mean that there's not something going on.
Right.
I think that's probably the succinct way of encapsulating how I feel about it.
I've got a question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
So, do you go out investigating?
I do not. Neither does Michael, my co-host, who's not here today. I used to do a lot of what would, I guess, now they call it urban exploring. We just called it getting into trouble.
Right.
When I did it, we weren't really purposefully, going out to document old buildings and stuff. Really, we were just looking for trouble and going into places that we were told were haunted or places that had just fallen into disrepair and looked neat.
Yeah.
So I used to do that a lot, but never with any intent other than thrill seeking. And like I said, we just called it getting into trouble. Now you can do it constructively, and it's called urban exploring.
I mean, and you can still get in trouble for it. I mean, some people, trespassing charges are a serious thing.
Right. Yeah. I'm a little older and wiser than I was back then. And
definitely. Aren't we all?
But I'll give a shout out to a buddy of mine that was on an episode about a story out of Hatteras. I'm pretty sure my buddy Joe remembers running down the road one night. This was when cell phones were pretty new to me. I had a little flip phone and it fell out of my pocket. And I was just like, we got to go back. We got to go back. He's like, dude, but the cops, the security guard, we can't go back. I'm like, you don't understand, man. Like, I just got that thing. I got to go back and get it.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, the threat of cops and security guard, let alone falling through a floor or something, has deterred me in my old age from getting into that kind of business.
It hurts a little more now.
Right. Wake up sore like, man, I was really hauling.
Right.
Well, cool. I really appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, this segment is really just meant to highlight you and your team and make sure that our listeners that are interested in getting up with you know how to do that.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Hey, this is Michael, jumping back in at the end of this segment because I wasn't there for the interview and listened to it later when I was putting this episode together. I love that he talked about that grave from Beaufort. I've been to it, I've seen it, and I've got a picture of it from my own visit to that very graveyard. I'm so delighted that he talked about that, and I'm just bringing it up to say that I'm going to go make sure that we post that photo on Facebook, and I'll send it to Charlie in case he wants to post it on Instagram or anything like that. It's not a great photo. I am not a professional photographer, but it was really neat to hear a story about a place that I have been to and have heard the same story while standing there and really, really enjoyed. If you ever want to go on a ghost walk in North Carolina, Beaufort's a great place to do it. Had a lot of fun, really great people, really friendly town, fantastic seafood. Just FYI. And before I forget, next episode 50. I just wanted to mark that milestone. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Arcane Carolinas. Thanks for joining us. If you liked it, give us a rating, leave a comment. If you didn't like it, send us an email and tell us why. If you're not wrong, we'll try to fix it.
And if you're interested in award-winning speculative fiction, including science fiction, urban fantasy, and horror, find me, Michael G. Williams, at www.michaelgwilliamsbooks.com and check out Falstaff Books at falstaffbooks.com.
If you'd like to pick up some Arcane Carolinas merch, look at behind-the-scenes info, pictures, videos, stuff like that, all the things that get cut, check out arcanecarolinas.com, where you can get access to our Patreon, our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, all that in one place, including the merch store. Buy a shirt.
Clothe your body.
Drape your body in our wares.
Be our living billboards.
Welcome to, we haven't done one of these in a while. This is an Arcane Carolinas Case Files episode.
Yeah. I like how I'm just like, yeah, the thing you said is a true thing.